ladies and gentlemen. It is really great honor for me to be here in the Institute of Global Justice and to have so many of you being interested to listen to the speech of representative of Georgia, small country which time to time makes news headlines, and we managed to do it about 2 weeks ago once again, and Dr. Williams just mentioned that. I'll try to address the most important things, including the domestic politics and development. I'll try to brief about the process of integration with the European Union and NATO and where we are in this journey. I'll try to inform you what's going on in Southern Caucasus, in the region where we are located, and also what is going on in Eastern Europe and what we feel, what we see, what we predict could happen as time goes, and where the next problems could emerge. Problems, of course, after the actions and policy of Russia. We are here, delegation of Georgian Parliament, at the invitation of our colleagues from Dutch Parliament. We have representatives of the opposition and staff members from Georgian Parliament. We already had 1.5 day meetings with our colleagues, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Netherlands, and I can tell you that this was very timely and very productive visit, because we once again found here friends who are eager to help Georgia, who are continuing their policy for supporting this country to become more democratic, better integrated in wider Europe, and better secured from the problems which we experienced during many years. At the same time, there are issues and problems which remain, and we all need to find answers on that. I'll start with the internal situation inside Georgia. Many of you are aware that exactly 2 years ago, some unexpected change happened in my country when President Saakashvili and his political team were defeated during the parliamentary elections, and completely new people, hardly known to our Western friends, came to the power. This process was accompanied with huge question mark. What is going on and who is coming to the power? Because first reaction was, and first expectation was, that probably pro-Western government, led by Mr. Saakashvili, is defeated by pro-Russian forces. That was not the case. And I believe 2 years were enough for everybody to be convinced that that was not the case. The people who formed Georgian Dream Coalition and who were winners of the parliamentary elections, in most of the cases, are the politicians who were very close allies to President Saakashvili and his team before and after Rose Revolution in 2003. These people, working and fighting with him against corruption, in favor of Western orientation of Georgia, became increasingly disappointed about the policies of the previous government, and that's why we went to the opposition, and not because we were challenging the choice of Georgian people, which is expressed by more than 20 national elections, and the people always are voting for one or another pro-Western leader and pro-Western political parties. And pro-Russian politicians would attract up to 10% of votes in best case scenario. So this is the reality. And when we are asked, when we were asked, are we pro-Westerners or who we are? Yeah, we are. And I was joking even that I myself, as it was mentioned, being one of the pro-Westerners. The reason is that I was born and raised in eastern part of Georgia. So for me, Georgia means west. I'm pro-Westerner even in that sense. nothing to say about the Europe and European values, which have been basics of the national identity of my country, my people. And there is even no question mark. Do we have choice? Should we think if there is any other choice or opportunity for the country, for the people? No. We are raised on these values, not only my generation, but my father's generation, my grandfather's generation, and Georgian literature, Georgian culture, Georgian, and so everything, including Christian religion, being state religion since 329 from the 4th century. Our cooperation or our interaction with the Western civilization, European civilization, is something given, is constant. Therefore, the question is whether we are able to find the shortest and most effective way of coming back to Europe, or we are meeting some obstacles internally and internationally. That's what differs political spectrum from each other in Georgia. So on this slide, the events of last 2 weeks should be explained, because the fact is that one of the most prominent pro-Western, pro-NATO political leader, who was Minister of Defense, was fired by the Prime Minister, and after a few hours, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of European Integration, who were from the same political group, resigned from their positions, and they made very loud statements that the direction of development of this country is under threat. My personal reaction immediately was that this was exaggeration of the situation, and the later events proved that, because very soon, very same people and leaders admitted that the statement was probably too harsh, too emotional. This is one thing. Second, there are new people appointed in those positions, and they are already doing their job. They are now in Brussels, having meeting within the frameworks of the Association Council, and they, by their biography and by their names and by their actions, will make it clear to everybody very soon that nothing has been changed in terms of direction or orientation of the country. But that does not mean that we did not receive unnecessary damage, because when such experienced people are leaving the government, which was followed by a departure of the faction of Free Democrats Party from majority in the parliament, of course this was damage, because the Georgian Dream coalition formed by former Prime Minister Ivanishvili originally was built on 2 parties and the one leader being Mr. Ivanishvili, and he invited Free Democrats and Republican Party, which I belong, as strategic partners. And these 2 groups, 2 parties being most outspoken pro-European political forces other than then ruling party National Movement. So yeah, it is the damage, and it raises very different kind of question. Not the question whether Georgia is changing its direction. No, the question is Georgia ready to deal with non-avoidable internal political and sometimes personal issues without such damage? Because these kind of things happen in every single country, especially when there is a coalition government. Parties are leaving or joining each other in the coalitions. But Georgia probably at the moment does not have that luxury to make such events which could bring the country to the edge of the crisis. At this moment the crisis was avoided, but the image of the government and the image of the majority is hurted, and we are determined to work hard in order to overcome this damage. We of course lost time, because in our situation every day counts a lot, and these several weeks will be necessary to bring everybody on the same page and then continue our job in many different directions. So that's one thing what happened. But in the same days, by coincidence, main opposition party, former ruling party UNM, organized demonstration rally in the city, and I'm feeling that some observers from the outside thought that these things are somehow connected to each other. No, they are not connected. This party has planned this demonstration long time ago, before the issues happened within the government. And the main slogan of the rally was "No to annexation." This is the issue which is now bothering every single Georgian citizen, no matter which party they belong. And this is the issue which was once again included in top of our political agenda because of the recent move of Russia, who about 1 month and a half ago offered integration treaty to Abkhazian de facto government. And this treaty means nothing but annexation of Abkhazia, because it talks about joint military forces, joint security, joint pension system, joint education, joint border guards, and it even talks about introducing the similar standards as custom union will have for the participatory states. There is everything but stating that Abkhazia becomes part of custom union or Abkhazia becomes part of Russia. There's no such statements, but meaning is the same. Why Abkhazia is not invited as part of the custom union? Because the other members, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Armenia would not agree on that, because that would mean their recognition of Abkhazian independence, which is recognized by Russia, Venezuela, and 2 other island countries in the world only. So there was no such option to invite Abkhazia as part of custom union states. On the other hand, repeating the Crimea scenario in Abkhazia is not an option as well, because the composition of the population now in Abkhazia is very different, because there are Abkhazian people who really want independence, and they don't want to become part of Russia, so they would resist such plans. Also, there are about 40,000 ethnic Georgians who still live there. They are deprived of many rights, but it is a burden for the local authorities anyway, so it's not easy to swallow Abkhazia and make it part of Russian territory. So these kind of things, of course, bother everybody. We, the government, parliament, adopted resolutions, made statements in this direction. We want to alert international community about these developments, and the opposition felt that they needed to raise this issue higher and organize this rally, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago. So I will not go in more details, but what I want to say is that the country at the moment is as stable as it was a few months ago. We have internal political issues which needs to be addressed, and some criminal proceedings are continuing, and we believe we should end this process sooner than later. But major issue which bothers everybody across the party lines and so on is the security issue, on which we are together, and what we blame each other is about who made mistakes in the past, or who is making right steps in order to secure country from Russian aggression. This is the topic of discussion, and not something else, that there is other way around than becoming more integral part of the Western organizations, including NATO and the European Union and other institutions. What is happening in South Caucasus? As you know, Armenia joined the custom union, which was not, I believe, #1 choice for many Armenians and decision makers. But we all know that Armenia is in a very difficult situation because of old conflicts with Turkey and current conflict with Azerbaijan. In this situation, the problem of Nagorno-Karabakh is played very well by Russia on both sides. And during recent days, we saw some increased level of tensions there, and that is happening almost constantly. And it seems that through this, by this conflict or through this conflict, Russia has quite big leverage out there. So we, Georgian authorities, made everything possible to convince our Armenian friends that the fact that we made kind of contradictory choices, they joined custom union, we signed association agreement, is not going to change our relations with Armenia. And we have this promise to Armenian friends that Georgia will not take any steps within the framework of association agreement which will hurt their economic or other interests. And we have complete understanding from our European friends that this is our policy, obligation, duty, and so on. Of course, we expect the same thing from our Armenian friends, that they will not be part of any decision within the custom union which is going to hurt interests of Georgia. We also both understand that in keeping our words, we are in better situation because this is the policy of European Union as well, not to punish anybody if they made different choice. But probably that's not the case in terms of main partner of Armenia within the custom union. So we understand the situation. We do not have guarantees that this will happen as we want, but by this I want to underline that there is understanding and cooperation between two countries. With Azerbaijan, we always had very close cooperation, economically, politically, and so on all levels, and that's what we are continuing. The same should be said with Turkey, and Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia is kind of sometimes is one triangle because the major regional projects, pipelines, railway, which is under construction and very soon will be connecting Baku port to Turkey Mediterranean ports, bypassing the Bosphorus. I mean, direct railway connection which goes through Georgia is another ambitious project, and there are many other ideas. And we continue this, and we want to expand this. And of course, this line, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey, or Azerbaijan and Georgia, Black Sea, is the vital thing. And probably this is the most important thing which Russia is seeking to have under its control. Because at the moment, if you look at the map, there is a tiny corridor, about 50 kilometers wide, from occupation line of South Ossetia, where Russian military facilities are located, to Armenian border, where Gyumri military base is located from the Soviet era. So this is the 40-kilometer which is not under Russian military control. Everything else from North Pole to Iranian border, the Armenia-Iranian border, is under direct military control of Russia. And this is the main issue there, because if they establish control over this corridor from South Ossetia to Armenia, then they control not only Georgia, but everything which is in the east, to the east, Azerbaijan and Central Asian countries and everything, because there will be no access to Europe through this line. This is probably a major issue which everybody needs to understand when we are talking about possible threat of Russia to Georgia. In the wider region, of course, we see the developments in Ukraine. Unfortunately, these developments are following logic of Kremlin, and not the logic of anybody else. And we from our side are not optimistic that the situation will be improved anytime soon if everything goes as it goes. But most importantly, we are worried that together with new actions in Ukrainian direction, we may see actions towards the South Caucasus direction. And this treaty offered to Abkhazia is a first signal of that. Because if Russia decides they can get 99% support on the referendum in South Ossetia for joining Russia, because the people who are left there, and Georgians were pushed out from there in 2008, and people who live there, Ossetians, well, they have their relatives in Northern Ossetia, who they are hundreds of thousands, while in South Ossetia there are a few thousand citizens, and everything else is just military facilities of Russia. So we could see this kind of development as well, or many others. I don't want to speculate too much what Russia could do, but this is our main message to our friends. Don't forget Georgia, because yes, it is Ukraine where all the attention should go, or main attention should go there. But we should consider Georgia's direction as part of this bigger problem. It's not just isolated things which do not have connection to each other, just vice versa. Therefore, we urge our partners not to forget mentioning the ongoing occupation of Georgia when talking about events in Eastern Europe. Don't forget this attempt to conclude the treaty with Abkhazia when talking about annexation of Crimea. And these are very important things for us. Well, I could continue, but probably it is better to leave more time for questions and answers. I would conclude with this statement again that decision of Georgian people reflected in the statements of politicians and the state agencies about our firm choice, our firm willingness to become part of the wider Europe stays there. And this is without question. But we have to find more time and resources for implementing the issues we have in the agenda. At the moment, we live under constant pressure, constant fear. Of course, it is affecting investors, it is affecting business people. Well, tourism is still growing because it seems that Georgia is still too attractive, and it's not the threat is not preventing people to come to Georgia. But of course, it has its limitations. We know that democratic institutions need to be strengthened. We know that we need to learn a lot of things from developed democracies, but we need to have just opportunity for that, and we need to survive, because the long-term strategy how to deal with aggressive Russia for Georgia is not kind of completely acceptable formula, because until that long run comes, we may find ourselves in big problems. So we have this priority to act in the line of the international community. We should not allow ourselves to make some individual decisions or surprise the rest of the world. We understand that. But at the same time, we expect the similar understanding from the other side, from the European countries, US. Of course, with that note that we are not talking about Georgia only. We are talking about much bigger issues, much bigger region, and it's not about South Caucasus only. It's about Caucasus, Central Asia, and probably beyond, which is at the stake at the moment. Thank you.